What do you do when you are very close to a tiger in the wild?
Well, I've never been in that situation, but I mean, tigers are the apex cat. There's no cat on planet Earth above them. And I think if a tiger wants to eat you, which is rare, it's a very rare scenario, then there's not much you can do about it.
Um, is there an equivalent animal that you faced in the wild where you've really felt like, okay, this is about it?
There's a handful of animals that you just have no control. A good one's orcas, killer whales. I've been in the water with killer whales 3 or 4 times now. And even with a great white shark or something, it's like if I move my body like this, if I lock eyes, if I have an aggressive body posture, the shark's going to turn away. It doesn't want to risk injury. But an orca, you're just a toy. If they want to play with you, they're going to play with you. If they want to ignore you, they're going to ignore you. Nothing you could do. It doesn't matter if you have a spear gun or a knife or anything. Nothing you could do would give you any safety against an orca because they're so powerful, they're so dominant, they're so big, and they're so smart.
But do you think, I mean, see, my reference point of orcas is obviously Free Willy.
Of course, yeah. And they're cute, and you pet the tongue, and
Right?
yeah.
And we've also heard of like orcas killing people in SeaWorld, like sometimes, but I believe that's because of some kind of induced insanity that
right.
the orcas go through.
That's right.
I'd love for you to explain it as a conservationist. Like, what's that insanity that they go through, and then talk about wild orcas and the possible dangers that they could have towards humans.
So I'm going to just reverse it just for context.
Sure.
Because to date, as far as we know, no orca in the wild has ever killed a human being. And they're perfectly capable of it, and they eat seals and sea lions and stingrays and all these things that they eat great white sharks, much bigger than us. So we could be on the menu. But because they're so intelligent, they don't choose to target human beings in the wild. They swim right by people.
Why?
Nobody knows. But my guess, orcas are incredible. They speak their own languages. There's certain like groups of orcas that speak their own language. One, like a stingray feeding orca, will only be able to speak the language of another stingray feeding orca. Like, say you only speak Hindi and I only speak English. We're both people, but we don't speak the same language. Same with orcas. There are stingray specialists. There are seal specialists. There are marine mammal specialists. There are salmon specialists. They all speak their own languages. They don't cross-communicate unless they spend enough time together, just like humans, to learn each other's languages. It's fascinating. They've never killed anybody, and I think it's because of that level of intelligence, and not just intelligence like you and I think of it, but emotional intelligence, EQ. However, orcas in captivity, to go back to your first point, they're driven, I don't think they're necessarily induced into insanity, but like, imagine if you lived in this room your whole life by yourself, and you get fed the same cup of coffee every day and nothing else. You're probably not a very nice person. You're probably a little bit grumpy. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole world, because most orcas have come from the wild, almost all. There's a whole world out there. You've had your whole life, and now you have to live in this room. Same as prison. People get violent in prison. You would probably get violent here. And someday, when I decide to bring you your coffee, I say, hey, you look stupid. Your hair looks terrible or something, and you've just had enough. And I think that's what it is. It's just they're in this very uncomfortable situation where they know what the real world is like, but now they're confined into this space, and then they're triggered.
Do you think there's anything like claustrophobia induced insanity when it comes to animals?
I think so. I think humans have it, right?
Like, if we're confined to a space, you could go mad.
If you're put in solitary confinement in prison, I don't know about in India, but at least in the US and other countries, one of the worst punishments you can get is solitary confinement, because it messes with you, right? You get put in the box by yourself, nobody to talk to, nothing, no windows. That's what these animals are being put into. And that drives people nuts. I'm sure it drives intelligent animals nuts too. Now, and that's the thing, it doesn't drive a snake nuts.
How come?
Because a snake is hardwired to relax and then attack its prey and relax. That's what snakes do.
This is what the meaning of cold-blooded is?
Cold-blooded means ectothermic, which means it takes its energy from the sun, versus makes its own energy from food, which is endothermic. But a snake doesn't have a social construct. Two snakes come together, they mate, then they leave. They lay their eggs, then they leave. An orca or an elephant is another good animal. They have these unbelievable hierarchies, this social dynamic, this intelligent conversation, in some cases telepathic communication, all these things. Those animals don't want to be in solitary confinement. A snake that lives its life by itself, that is hardwired to just reproduce, eat, and go back to sleeping, doesn't care. You know what I mean? So it just sort of depends. It's very varying levels of intelligence.
Telepathic communication. Mm-hmm. Do you want to expand on that thought a little bit?
Sure. We don't understand it, of course, not in people, not in animals, but it's strongly believed that certain animals, like jackals, African wild dogs, we have jackals here in India.
Yeah.
They have ESP, which is an ability to communicate without talking to each other. And we don't understand that, but what we understand is you see a pack of African wild dogs, painted dogs. 20 painted dogs will run out into the bush. And without making a sound, 2 of them will go this way, 2 of them will go this way, and 2 of them will chase the prey that way. And then these 2 will realize that the prey is going to turn this way, that they're chasing it, and they'll loop around and come and join this pack. And they've never spoken to each other. Something has triggered them to say, hey, come over here and help with the kill, or move over this side. You know, there's communication of some kind. And so it's believed quite widely that there's some form of telepathic communication. Now, maybe it's body language, maybe it's smell, maybe it's a combination. I look at you and I don't just listen to your words. I'm looking at your body language and I'm looking, are you interested in what I'm saying? Everything, you know? To me, that's almost a little bit of a form of telepathy because, like, I understand you want to talk to me right now.
Like, it happens in team sports a little bit if you've played with the same team over some time.
Exactly.
Like, you get each other.
100%. If you're, I'll use a rugby reference. I'm a rugby player, but you're an inside center and you've got an outside center and you two have played rugby together for 10 years. You don't even look where he's going. You just toss the ball.
Yeah.
And you know he's going to be there.
Yeah. Okay, wow. So you're saying orcas also can communicate in this manner. I have a crazy fact that I've read about orcas that they have different accents based on where they're from.
That's right.
And sometimes if 2 groups meet and they exchange languages, sometimes one of the groups will drop their original language and adopt the new language.
That's what they say. Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
With the advancements in AI, do you think we'd ever reach a point where we could translate what the orcas are saying to each other?
There was a paper that came out, I want to say about a year ago, that established that it could basically learn to speak whale. So the AI would take all of the varying whale sounds and run it through, you know how AI works. Like first you learn pattern recognition, and then you begin to decipher it. And this paper, I think it was a paper, or maybe it was just an article, stated that within 5 years, we'd basically be able to learn whale. We'd be able to decipher what certain sounds and tonalities mean through pattern recognition. And that can only happen if you have enough of a data set. So first you have to get thousands of hours of sounds, and then you start to look for patterns.
That's what's stopping us now.
I think so.
Being able to communicate with animals.
I think so. I mean, to some degree. But it won't be like you and I sitting having a conversation because there's language is not developed like that. It'll be food here. Help me. I'm hungry. Let's mate. It'll be very rudimentary sounds and things like that because that's how they've developed.
I think it was this gorilla called Lucy the gorilla. I don't remember the name of it. But it was this one gorilla that was taught sign language in detail in confinement.
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember her name either, but yeah.
She started communicating some pretty emotionally deep things with her.
Isn't that wild? Yeah, like I'm sad or whatever. Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
But basically, that gorilla had emotions.
Yeah.
And it started conveying the emotions to the human beings.
Definitely.
My question is whether that gorilla could possibly communicate in detail with dogs or whatever. Because if we could crack one animal, does that lead us to understanding what other animals are thinking and saying also?
I think so.
You think so?
I mean, do you have a dog?
Yes.
You do? Here?
No, it's in my parents' house.
Gotcha. You understand when your dog's happy or sad.
Yes.
You understand when he's hungry or when he needs to go out and use the bathroom or something. And that is... that's interspecies communication. Now, I probably wouldn't know your dog as well as you know your dog. Oh, he's just feeling depressed because I've been gone all day or something. You know that from pattern recognition. But that's still interspecies communication. Just like when he comes up to you and looks at you with those big eyes, you go, oh, he's hungry. He knows what he's trying to communicate to you, and you're trying to communicate to him. I think, and I have nothing to base this on, but I think that gorillas are plenty smart enough. You could absolutely have a gorilla with a pet dog. You could 100% have that, and the gorilla would understand what the dog wants.
Okay. If I were to tell you that, hey, we found this technology which will let us communicate with animals, what would you ask them based on all of your life's experiences?
I would ask them to explain to humanity that they have a right to be here as well. I would say to whatever animal, I don't care if it's an ant or a polar bear or an elephant, I'd say, I don't even have a question about you or your biology or your anatomy or anything. How you feeling? Just explain to all these people that you are a being that deserves to be here and that we don't have the right to, I get it. I understand the hierarchy. Some animals, I eat fish, I eat beef, I eat everything. It's Western culture, as you know. But I would still want that cow or that fish or whatever it is to tell people, listen, I have a right to be here too. Don't cut down my home. Don't build another building. Don't pave the road. I also have a right to be here. And I think that would be a big message for people to hear.